every single time when Tony Blair goes quiet, you should always be worried because he's working on something. Once again, the Tony Blair Institute have come up with the promotion of the digital ID system and to completely centralize the whole of society because it clearly works in China for the Communist Party. Then it will have to basically copy everything that the CCP do in Beijing. So the Tony Blair Institute said that most of us use physical documents to prove our identity online, blah, 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 where we now need basically digital ID system to the centralized database so government could actually hold all the data because the government can be trusted, clearly, considering he was one of the worst prime ministers that we had. And now then they also did a video to sell this idea to you in a soft way, in a convincing way. Watch this.
You get to the checkout at your local supermarket. You scan a digital version of your bank card to pay, and you can even scan a digital loyalty card to collect your points. So why can't you show a digital ID if you want to purchase your age-restricted items?
Oh yeah, they're selling it as a practical thing. But they're not going to talk about how this could be easily used in the future or even instantly by the system, by the establishment for you to control your behavior, to give you points for good behavior and take away points for bad behavior. Again, they're selling it as we're just making it practically easier. So instead of showing your paper, you show your phone or your some sort of app.
Or a paper-based vaccination certificate, a paper-based birth certificate, etc., to substantiate who they are and sort of important things about themselves. And you know what I think we really need to move to is having forms of digital records that allow people to share that information in a trustworthy, privacy-protecting manner and to do so across international borders.
This is extremely a silly way to sell the argument, but also dangerous because they could convince some weirdos who are going to fall for this. And that's the problem because it's not just a form of ID to replace your passport or like some sort of paper form certificate that you have. It's also to prove not just who you are, but attributes about yourself, what sort of person you are, and more about yourself. And that's the issue that they have. It's not the first time they've been pushing for this, because early days, look, you had 2006, when Blair and Gordon Brown together were pushing for ID cards at the time, and that was still the basic version of ID cards. That was simply having the identification kind of their document and to make it centralized. The problem we had with it was because it was supposed to be a centralized database controlled by the government. So when David Cameron came into power, when the Tories came into power, they decided to get rid of it in 2011, which makes me wonder because with all the issues that we've been dealing with, it's coming back and it's nothing new. It's not because of the lockdown days of 2020. No. It was July 2019 when MPs were calling for a national debate over the government's plans to bring digital ID cards. So people would say, oh, this is the new normal thing that happened because of 2020. No. The so-called conservative government that we have now have been pushing for this for some time now. Which again, is weird to say, get ready for this. David Cameron's government, the coalition days, had a lot of flaws, betrayed us on a number of issues, and whether it was the Remain Brexit stuff, whether it was it's so many problems with that government, right? But compared to what we're seeing now, there were elements of that government that was more right-wing. I don't even know how this happened. I'm going to show you an example. David Cameron stood up as Prime Minister and made a speech bravely and openly against multiculturalism. Watch this.
Under the doctrine of state multiculturalism, we've encouraged different cultures to live separate lives apart from each other and apart from the mainstream. We failed to provide a vision of society to which they feel they want to belong. We've even tolerated these segregated communities behaving in ways that run completely counter to our values.
Oh yeah, shockingly surprising, right?
But when equally unacceptable views or practices come from someone who isn't white, we've been too cautious, frankly even fearful, to stand up to them. The failure, for instance, of some to confront the horrors of forced marriage.
It is absolutely fascinating that you can compare even the coalition days, David Cameron's government, to now, and find that even that was, to an extent, with some areas, even more conservative than what we're seeing now. I'm just showing you this example to say that David Cameron's government was the conservatism that we want, bring it back and all that. No. Just saying that things are so bad now that even that is more right-wing than what we have right now. I'm going to come back with more news updates for you guys. Subscribe to the channel. I'm Tousi, and we are the media.